What's going on, guys? Today I'm going to show you how to remove the front storage bin on a ST3 hull SeaDoo. I'm going to be doing this on mine because I'm going to be fiberglassing the front of the hull as well as the jet pump tunnel to reinforce them. There's no damage or anything like that, but since I'm hitting higher speeds, it's something I want to do just to kind of protect the hull. These are polyester resin fiberglass hulls. They are not epoxy resin, so they're not as strong as they could be, so that's why I'm going to be reinforcing it. But this video is going to be just on how to remove the front storage bin. So it's pretty straightforward. There's not much to it, but there are some parts that you need to get out of the way first, so I'll show you all that. The first thing we're going to do is remove this piece of trim here, and it's very simple. We just have a pop nut and a T30 bolt. I'll go ahead and do that on both sides. Mine's going to be a little bit different just because I have a charge port here on the side. So once I take this off, I'm just going to kind of set it here. I did leave enough slack in there so that I can pull that off easily, but let's go ahead and we'll pull these trims off. And with those two retainers out, we just need to kind of lift, get past that lip there, and then this thing will just slide out just like that. And you can see I left some slack there, so I'm just going to hold that off to the side. So that part's very simple. Next part we're going to do is remove the speakers. Now, I did put a video on this in the past, but you can see back there is a T30 bolt that is holding the top of the speaker in, and then there is a, let's see if I can show you here, a small opening at the bottom of the speaker. We're just going to shove a screwdriver in there, which will push down a retaining piece of plastic, and then the speaker will just slide down. So we're going to do that on both sides. All right, that top T30 is out. So you can see what I'm going to do here is just find that hole, screwdriver, literally ram it in, and then speaker comes out just like that. So I'm not going to fully release it just because it is still in there with the wire and I don't want to put any tension on that. But the next piece is a small nut here. I don't remember if that's an 8 or a 9, but it's just one single bolt that's holding this front trim in. So I'm going to take that out, and then this piece will just slide right out. And there we go, front trim is out, and we can see where the wiring for the speaker is passing through. All right, the next thing we're going to remove are the two 8mm nuts on either side holding the front trim in. It's just those two pieces, and then that trim will just fly forward. So let's do that. With those bolts removed, you'll see that this thing just kind of, let's see if we can do it one-handed. There's two tabs that hold it in, right there and right there, so you just have to pull it forward to pop them, and then this whole assembly will just come right off. All right, next step is to remove the strut that's holding the front lip, or the storage bin, whatever you want to call it, off. We're going to, first there's a zip tie here you need to cut off, and then this part of the strut at the top is threaded into the top insert, which is what allows it to swivel. But this piece is actually, it's deceptively heavy, so it really helps to have a rope or something that you can kind of wrap around the handlebars and tie it to something in front of the trailer just to help pull it back, because once this thing comes off, it will come crashing down on you. It helps to have someone with you to support it, or to use a rope and just kind of assist with the weight, because after that strut is off, we're also going to need to move this thing as far forward as we can in order to get this bucket out. But first things first, let's get this thing tied up and we'll remove that strut. All right, you can see I have the tower suspended with some rope that should hold. I'm going to go ahead and just start unthreading this strut now. I'm sure there's some slack in there, so as you're doing this and you get close, just make sure you kind of support it with your hand. But I'm going to go ahead and get the rest of this out. All right, with the strut disconnected, we can actually just kind of pop it out now, just like that. And you can see I moved the steering column thing, whatever you want to call that, all the way as high as it can go. And if you'll notice, the front part of the storage bin is just going to make contact with this. Now there's a fix or something you can do, and that's just to loosen these nuts around the perimeter of the steering assembly, and this whole piece here will shift forward. We're going to do that last. The next step we're going to do is to remove each of the T30 bolts around the storage bin, including the locking plates for the steering and the 4 around the gas cap. So let's do that now. Alright, so all the nuts holding in the storage bin. Also, don't forget there will be a T30 at the bottom where the strut tower is. They're all removed. This bucket is now loose, and I also loosened the bolts holding the whole steering assembly in and shifted it a millimeter or 2 forward. So it is now going to clear the tower. Now I've had this storage bin off already, so I can tell you what's underneath. There's going to be the 2 kind of PVC tunnels, whatever these are, the corrugated tubes for the intake. They are zip tied to the bottom of this storage bin. So when you lift it, it's going to feel like it's stuck on something. It's not. You can continue lifting it. I was able to do it myself. I kind of just lifted up on one side, went under with some snips and cut the zip ties. If that's too difficult, it's definitely beneficial to have someone available to help you, where they can kind of hold this up so that you can reach under and cut those zip ties. Not all of them are, but every one that I've worked on does have the zip ties holding those tubes in place. So I'm going to put the camera off to the side so you can see me trying to get this thing out. It's a giant plastic tube, so it does have some weight to it, but it's not entirely terrible. Definitely helps to clear out anything in your storage bin, especially if you have anchors and stuff like that. This one's not too bad. So I'm going to get this off to the side and we'll try to lift this thing out. And here you can see what the ST3 hulls look like without the front storage bin. Just a giant cavity. We have our fuel pump or fuel tank there. That's my bilge pump outlet. When I'm doing my reinforcement, I actually have instructions on from BRP. You can download them for free to show you where you should do the reinforcement. Of course, it involves cutting out some foam, but not a terribly bad job. But that's pretty much it for this video. I just wanted to show what it looks like to, or what you need to do to remove the storage bin. Putting it back together is literally quite the opposite. Storage bin in, go ahead and put your nuts in. This is one of those things where you kind of want to do things, put the bolts in loosely, just so every one of them lines up, and then you can torque them down. And then just keep in mind the 3 on either side for the latch mechanism are longer bolts, so you want to keep those separate from the other T30s. I do want to point out these bolts here, the one with this whole assembly that can shift, this is movable because obviously you can't expect a perfect fit with how complex these things are. So the latching here, if you notice that yours is incredibly loose and it doesn't latch, or the opposite, that it's so tight that you have to like really kind of pull on it to release, you can adjust that with how far forward or backwards this whole piece is, because that'll determine where these latches will sit on the latching mechanism. So if you notice that yours is incredibly tight, it's beneficial to shift this thing forward, and if you notice that it's so loose that it barely bites at all, you want to move this thing backwards. But of course you can only do that after you put the storage bin back in. So very, very easy to do. If you're doing it for your first time, it may take you 30 minutes or so, but after that it'll only take 5 minutes, if that. But very easy access to the hull in case you are doing your own reinforcement, or if you want to run the a bilge pump outlet like I did. And especially on the ST3s, you have very easy access to the GPS, ECU, fuel pump assembly, all this stuff. So if you ever need to do any work in here, very, very easy to get to. But that's pretty much it for this video. If you guys have any questions, again, feel free to leave a comment and I'll be happy to get back to you.